Welcome to the Whitebear Township special budget and tax levy meeting. I am Pat Christofferson. I am the Township Clerk. I'm starting off the meeting here just to welcome everybody and go over a few pieces of information. Tonight's meeting is not a town board meeting, but this is instead a meeting of the people. The town board, staff, and town consultants are present as a resource. So the folks that are sitting up here in front will help answer some of the questions that you have this evening. We do have our board members sitting in the back row over there if they want to chime in, mostly as residents rather than supervisors this evening. The main part of this presentation is the tax levy for 2026. When it comes to a vote, only town residents have the privilege of voting and setting the budget. Since the meeting is not a town board meeting, the meeting is going to be run by a moderator, as we have done in years past. Residents may ask questions at the end. So I do want to emphasize that tonight to wait till we get through the full presentation on the budget and tax levy. We are going to have just a few technological challenges, mostly just having to do with the delay in signal, but our town finance officer will be conducting his presentation as he does usually via team meeting. So if there's any kind of a delay, just be patient, it'll move along. Anyway, also, if you have comments not on the budget and or levy, we will be doing something a little bit different this evening. At the adjournment of the budget and tax levy meeting, we will take a 5-minute break, and then we will adjourn to a 5-minute break, and then come back and conduct our regular monthly or bi-monthly meeting this evening. You're welcome to make statements at that point if you'd like. So, all that being said, again, welcome. Our first piece of business is that we're going to nominate a moderator from the floor who does need to be a township resident who will be conducting or acting as MC this evening. So I'm going to ask for anyone who would be interested in being the MC this evening. Bob Kermis has volunteered. Can I get a second on that? Second. All in favor of Bob running the meeting? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. And just as a further resource, Chad Lemons is the township attorney. He will be acting as our consulting parliamentarian this evening. So without any further ado, Robert, if you'd like to take the podium. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Sort of refreshing to hear a vote in a public meeting that comes up with a unanimous decision. That's something we don't see very much of anymore. Okay, so as Pat says, as mentioned, we will be using modified version of Robert's Rules of Orders to conduct the meeting. And Pat has also arranged to have the minutes of the meeting taken. First item on the agenda to approve after that is to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. If you don't have an agenda in front of you, there's still a pile of them at the door. Can I ask for a motion then to approve the meeting agenda for tonight's special township meeting?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. No discussion. Those in favor, please say aye. 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 That motion passes. Okay, also, and hopefully you've gotten a chance to take a look at these meeting minutes from last year's special town board meeting, but there is a copy in the agenda packet, and we do need to approve those meeting minutes from the December 3rd, 2024 special town meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes from last year's special town board meeting on December 3rd. Those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the meeting agenda, or meeting minutes are approved. Okay, like Pat said, the primary reason for tonight's meeting is to review the proposed township budget for 2026 and the property tax levy. So now things are going to be a little bit different. Tom is out of town, but he'll be on the screen. Hopefully he'll be on the screen.
He's on there.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully you can see the first slide. If not, Pat, you'll have to let me know.
You're good.
But as Bob said, tonight's meeting, the reason for it is to help understand the township's budget and our property tax. This is for 2026. And then after the presentation, residents will be asked to approve the actual tax levy, but then make a recommendation to the board for a 2026 operating levy. The proposed budget as it stands right now, we have debt service funds totaling $1,593,204 for 2026. The township receives a bond rating of AA+ from S&P and a AA1 from Moody's. Each of those are one step below AAA. And the township does have a new debt issue planned for 2026 to fund the 2026 street improvements. However, they will not affect your 2026 levy. Those debt services won't take place until 2027. Total outstanding debt as of the end of this year will be just under $14 million. And for 2026, it does require a debt levy or a property tax levy of $670,000. That is an increase of just over $218,000. And if you take a median valued home in the township, to pay off that debt levy, it would be $9.50 a month on a median valued home. All right, what'd you do to me?
Hold on.
Yes.
Next.
All right. For whatever reason, I froze up there. The 2026 general fund budget, or our operating budget, it accounts for the day-to-day operations of the budget of the township. Right now, it's proposed to increase 3.26%. And the main revenue source, unfortunately, is property taxes. It is a balanced budget, which means our revenues do equal expenditures, and we are not using any reserves to balance the budget. This chart here compares expenditures for 2026 to 2025's, and you can see because of rounding and so forth, the percentage breakdown by department is exactly the same from 2025 to 2026. And obviously public safety, which is the largest area and is the largest area for just about every single city, county in the state. It's 39% of our operating budget. Public Works is next at 29%. That's the green area. And then parks and general government, each of those are at 16%. As I said, public safety is our largest area. It is currently budgeted at $2,734,912, which is a 5.06% increase. The biggest increase in that area was our police budget for the sheriff's contract, which is just under a 7% increase. And that is based on the Ramsey County Sheriff's budget and the seven member group that contracts for sheriff services. And so we basically have to pay what the county has based on our contract. Fire protection, which we get from the city of White Bear Lake, that is only going to increase just over 0.5% for 2026. Part of the reason it's only increasing that amount is because with the formula on how the 2026 budget for the city that is dispersed through the different contract areas, the township is actually a smaller percentage of that budget. So our increase is much smaller than what it has been in the past. For public safety, again, if you had that median value home, your monthly cost for public safety is just over $30. Next, our public works area is increasing 1.35% to just over $2 million. Public works in that area includes street patching, snow plowing, salt sanding, those type of activities. It also includes maintenance of our public works and our administration facility. And again, it's only a 1.35%. And for public works, you would pay just under $24 a month. Our general government department is increasing $70,835 to just over $1 million, which is a 6.76% increase. General government costs do include our administration staff, our planning, and our elections, our town board, all those areas. And it is a just over an $11 a month increase for a monthly cost. Finally, we have our park and recreation, which is actually going to decrease 0.86%. Down to $1,099,332. That includes both our park maintenance and the township days / movies and the parks budget. It's going down mainly because of adjusting line items down to what we've actually spent in the last few years. And plus our park improvement transfer for future park improvements, we left at the same amount as we did for the 2025 budget of $375,000. And for parks, the cost on a median value home is $13.67. Here's our breakdown on revenues. Again, it's very similar to the 2025. The biggest change is probably in our interest earnings in 2025 based on our estimates of interest. It made up just less than 1%. Now it's up to 2% because of interest rates being higher and the township having additional funds to invest. So that's probably the one area that's the largest. But you can see in 2025, property taxes made up 86% of our budget. And for 2026, it's going to make up 87% of our budget. Changes to our revenue side. In the past, we had state aid for public safety to the tune of just over $240,000 for the last 2 years. We're no longer going to receive that in 2026, so we had to decrease our revenues by that amount. Building revenues, permit revenues based on current activity and past activities, we did increase slightly to 4.35%. So it's still just over $100,000 in revenues. Like I said, property taxes are the highest chunk of the budget, and our property taxes then do make up our fiscal disparities and our general property taxes. Because of the formula on fiscal disparities, we are actually seeing an increase, and for 2026 we'll receive $451,461 in fiscal disparities, which leaves us a proposed property tax levy of $5,606,352 for general property taxes. Here's a breakdown of our proposed levy. Again, you'll see that general operating levy of the $5,606,352, fiscal disparities of $451,461, which gives us an operating levy of $6,057,813. Add in the debt levy of $670,000, and it gives us our proposed levy of $6,727,813. That is an 8.298% increase from our 2025 levy. Taking the monthly service costs on a median value home between the 2 years, 2025 and 2026, you can see public safety from 2625 to 3017. Public works went from 2367 to 2392. General government $11.16 to $11.33. Park and Recs $13.92 to down to $13.67. And then, unfortunately, because of that new debt levy for the 2025 bonds that we issued for the 2025 street improvements, our debt service costs are going from $6.42 a month to $9.50. So on value home, they would pay in 2025, it would have paid $81.42 compared to $88.59 for the homes now in 2026. And you can see that the Ramsey County estimated that a median value home in 2025 was $378,900, and for 2026 it has increased to $395,450. Now, if you take our budget, our operating budget, we've got a number of things that are supported by the tax levy. As I said, you can see what our general fund operating levy is, debt service levy, get us to $7,628,773. Now, much of our budget, because we are small, is based on contracts. And if you take our general obligation or our general fund, we have approximately $3,169,217 that our budget that is actually set by contracts, mainly from other organizations. And then if you take our debt service levy of 670,000, you can see that we'd have 3,839,217 set by contracts. Now our personnel costs, our public works, they are unionized. The union contract does call for an increase in 2026 to stay within pay equity laws. That same increase would be given to the administration staff. So if you add in personnel as a contract or legal obligation, that adds just over another 2 million to those contract costs. So out of our 7,628,000 levy, 5,849,000 is basically based on existing contracts. That leaves us with $1,779,750 that I'll call discretionary spending or not contract spending. And that includes services such as our annual cleanup day, our park improvements, Township Day, movies in the park, code enforcement, street patching, snow plowing, those type of services. If you take a median value, or if you take the different valued homes that are shown on the screen and you reduce the levy by $100,000, you can see based on what we're proposing, the first column here is the home value. This next column is what we are proposing with our current levy. And then if you reduced it by 100,000, you'd see what those homes would, those same valued homes would be paying. And you can see that they would be saving $11 all the way up to $24 a month in savings if they were for each $100,000 of budget that they would cut. Here's a listing that Ramsey County puts out of all the cities in Ramsey County, what their 2025 was compared to their 2026 proposed levy is. And you can see a lot of the cities do have double-digit increases proposed. Our current proposed one at 6,727,813 is an 8.298% increase. And with that type of an increase, you'd have 6 communities in Ramsey County with smaller increases and 12 with larger increases than what the township is proposing. Factors that drive your property taxes. Ramsey County assessor sets your market values. You get notices of what your value is going to be for the next tax year in the spring each year. State legislature then sets the class rates. They haven't changed much in recent years. And then that class rate is applied to your market value to create tax capacity. The township then establishes its property taxes, just like the school district will determine its property tax levy, and the county will determine their property tax levy. And that levy is then divided by the total town tax capacity. And then that tax capacity is multiplied by that gives us our tax rate, which is then multiplied by your individual property tax capacity. This chart shows how the township's tax capacity has changed over the years. And for 2026, Ramsey County has an increasing an estimated 4.8% over the 2025. Based on that tax capacity and our proposed tax rate, the township would have the second lowest tax rate in Ramsey County at 27.641. Only North Oaks, which the majority of their services are paid through a homeowners association fee, is lower. And then the closest one above us is the city of Little Canada, which is at 28.932. If you apply the median value home in the township, which is at 395,450, and you applied it against each of those communities' proposed tax rates, you can see, again, because we are the second lowest in tax rate, that home would pay the lowest taxes in Ramsey County, with the exception of North Oaks, which would have the homeowners association being paid. This chart shows how the median valued homes in the township has changed over the years. And for 2026, the median value home is a 4.37% increase from the 2025 median valued home. Based on different home values, going back to 2017, if you had a home valued at $180,146 in 2017, that home, based on Ramsey County numbers, would now be valued at $267,915. Their tax increase between 2025 and 2026 would go from $621 to $679. And if you go to the higher end, you're looking at an increase from in taxes from $1,366 to $1,486. And again, the home value would be the lower end one there is from 2000. Higher one is at the 2026. The breakdown of your property tax statement that you get from Ramsey County, you can see the largest portion of the taxes goes to Ramsey County. They make up just over 41%. The township makes up 22.5% of your property taxes. The school district 28.6%, and then you've got a bunch of miscellaneous districts, watersheds, those type of things that make up just under 7.4%. Once our budget document is done, it will be available on the town's website, Facebook, so you can view it then. And in summary, the total general fund budget is $6,958,773. It's an increase of 3.26%. Your total property tax levy is proposed at $6,727 and $6,727,813, and it's an increase of 8.298%. The township's tax rate of 27.641 would give you the monthly cost on a home, depending on its value, of anywhere from $56.58 to $123.83, which is an increase of $4.83 to $9.91 per month. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay. Tom, can you hear me on the microphone right now?
I can.
Great. Okay, folks. Haley and I are going to go around with a microphone to whomever has a question. It is very important that you speak right into the microphone when you are asking your question so that Tom can hear you where he is. Nice job, by the way, Tom. We're Bob. I don't know if you wanted to add anything. I just want everybody to understand that everybody's time is valuable here, and we've got people that will want to ask questions. I would ask that you, if someone has asked a question already that you have in mind, let's not ask them again. So, Bob.
Just to add to that, if you have a question, please identify yourself and your address. So with that, we'll open it up. Are there any questions?
Hi, I'm Greg Yippinger, 5476 Bald Eagle Boulevard East. A couple of questions on the budget. The increase for fire is 6.99, or for law enforcement is 6.99, and for fire 0.53. Why is community development budget going up 14%?
Tom, did you get that?
I did. The reason community development is going up, we've had more activity than we've had in the past. And our planner retired a number of years ago, and we now contract that out with TKDA, and we're having more expenditures with planning and development type activities. Some of that can be billed back out to developers, but not all of it. And so that is the main reason is our budget for consulting services and planning and development needs to be increased because we're spending way more than what we budgeted in the last 2 years.
Any other questions?
Yeah, good evening, Tom. Mike Sackey, 5593 Hugo Road. I'm just wondering, besides property taxes, are there other revenue sources such as permits and licenses, charges for services, other fees that could be adjusted to reduce the property tax increase, if possible?
Get that, Tom?
Yeah. Not really. A lot of the building permits fees are set by the state building code. So we're kind of locked into those. And the other issue we run into with permits is that we are almost fully developed. Now, the good news is we've had more commercial activity, which has spurred on some of those expenditures I just talked about. But we're also getting more building permit revenue in, which is why we slightly increased our building permit revenue over for 2026. But those are restricted. When we do other activities for some of the surrounding communities, such as working in Gem Lake and stuff, we do bill them for those services based on our costs. Sometimes, depending on what it is, we're restricted by state law onto what we can charge. Also, there's a number of things like licensing and stuff that the state defines what we can and cannot do in those areas. And so we're really kind of limited on our other revenue sources. And, if I showed, that pie chart I showed earlier where it showed the breakdown of the different revenues, I think over the last 20 years, if I showed you that same pie chart, our property tax levy was anywhere from 80 to 80, almost 88% of our operating levy. And unfortunately, I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on unless we hit a major redevelopment trend. So we're kind of limited into some of the other revenues that we can generate. Now, like I said, in that when I showed that chart, the one good news is interest rates have gone up and we've had more funds to invest. And so our interest earnings has gone up, but for one area to go up a couple percentages really doesn't help us all that much.
Tom, Mike's got a follow-up question here, and thank you for that ray of sunshine.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So if I understand the figures, if we're limited by revenue, how we can increase revenue, and the expenditures we're kind of locked in by contract and other obligations. The only real opportunity to reduce is in the discretionary spending amount of the $1.779 million figure. And then also, you mentioned the debt service for 2027. Do you have an approximate estimate of how much that will be? Is that going to be an additional $670,000 or more next year when you have to issue that debt? Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
The debt part, that's the easy part. No, the 670,000 is actually 4 different bond issues. The 2025 bond issue added about 200,000, just a little bit more than 200,000 to the tax levy. And it really will depend, and the engineers are currently working on feasibility studies and the project scopes right now for the 2026 road projects. Once they get that pretty much set in stone and the board has approved those projects, then we'll be able to take those costs, figure out which other revenue streams we have to pay for those projects, and then issue a bond based on that, which will generate a property tax levy. The property tax levy for additional projects can run anywhere from 150,000 to 300,000 a year, depending on the size of the projects and the other funding sources. The discretionary items, yes, if you were to reduce the levy, those items would be where we would have to make our operating cuts. We're pretty much locked in on the contracts. I mean, there's not much you could do with those. Personnel, short of laying off individuals or taking them away, but of course then that starts to affect services, which because we are such a small staff, we have 9 public works employees and 8 office employees, including our building inspector, code enforcement officer. So once you start taking staff away, it's going to take longer to get different services done and so forth. Obviously, if you cut park improvements, parks aren't going to be, equipment isn't going to get replaced as when needed. Likewise, road improvements or street patching could be delayed and so forth. So, but unfortunately, that's the only place we have. If the levy is reduced at any point, to make up that difference would be from those areas. So I hope that answered your question.
Tom, I got another question here.
Tim David, 5294 Bald Eagle Boulevard East. If you allow me, I'll sit. I have a bad, injured ankle and I really cannot stand on it. So I did print out the package before the meeting, so I had a chance to go through it. I've got about 5 questions and some comments, so if I could. It's on. Slide 17. I don't know if you're able to advance the slide for the
Tom, can you move the slide to slide 17 on
It-
the screen?
I'm gonna try.
Yep.
It's the pie chart of proposed 2026 budget.
This one. Is that the one?
Nope. Slide, page 17. Proposed 2026
I
budget.
don't have the same packet you do, so I don't know what's on page 17.
Well, it's proposed 2026 budget expenditures in 2025 and expenditures 2026 by department.
Tom, it shows 2 pie charts. And yeah, the
Yep, all right, I know which one.
Okay.
Slide 7.
yeah.
He's got different numbers. Okay. Well, we're all looking at page 17.
Yeah, we're getting there.
All right.
Sorry. This way? Am I going backwards?
Unfortunately, it's making me go piece by piece. Keep going. There. Okay.
No, with the pie charts.
Yep, this one, Tom.
Okay, if you pause there, Tom. This slide, maybe it's more of a comment, but it shows expenditures by department. What it does not show is activities or cost items. And my note here, or maybe a question would be that if you were to identify cost items, line by line items in your chart of accounts, salaries increase on every line item from 4%, 4.84% to 9.38%. A national salary survey by a company called PayScale, one of the leaders in salary surveys, identified in 2026, the average government employee will realize a 4.0% increase in salary. So I guess my question is, at the township, we're at 4.84 to 9.38. Is there an opportunity for cost reduction there? Even though I recognize you mentioned contractual obligations, labor contracts, is any of that wage, salary, discretionary, or is there an opportunity to reduce by 1 FTE?
That would be the way to do it. You'd have to eliminate a position. We're locked in on our union contract. It calls for a 3.5% COLA the beginning of the year, but we are also on a pay scale system, and we have people that are still moving through that pay scale. So they get, for lack of a better word, a step increase besides the COLA. We also have in the contract where some of the public works guys get additional money for obtaining licenses so that they can better serve the town with different activities. We try to fill those out, and then unfortunately, because of the pay equity laws, we have to pay non-union employees that have similar positions to public works positions, similar pay. So again, we're kind of, our office staff, even though they're not union, ends up on the same pay scale, and we got people that are still moving through those pay steps, which is why you're seeing the pay increases or the personnel costs increases varying from department to department based on those individuals going through the different steps. Also included in personnel services is our health insurance. That increase is a little bit higher than what the pay scale increase is. Again, we have to provide that per the union contract. And then in 2026, the state of Minnesota passed a legislative law which now requires the township and the employees to pay into a time off bank into the state, which is brand new. We're working with the union and have come to an agreement with the union that the cost of this new insurance, the employees and the township are going to split the cost 50-50. It's not a huge cost for that, but it did also increase our personnel services. So there's more to wages than in personnel services. And as I said, about the only way you can reduce personnel costs would be to lay off an employee, which you're then going to affect services in one way or another.
Thanks, Tom. Just as a side note too, Tim had mentioned or had referenced a salary or pay scale evaluation company. We do contract with a third party, MRA Net, to do our pay scale set, which the board passed 2 years ago. We are at market, neither above or below. And that has been blessed for, or that evaluation has been blessed for one more year after this one. So.
Okay, I'm going to try and keep moving here. Page 24, which is 7 slides from here, Tom. It is the proposed 2026 budget.
So going forward,
You're going
the
forward in the slide deck.
where it
7.
lists out the, I think it's this one. This one?
Nope. It's got the right there. Hold it, Tom. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, this slide, I want to make a note. I kind of call this, I'd view this as the money slide. The really bottom line, total tax levy, $6,727,813. That really is the property tax levy that we as property taxpayers have to pay. Correct? And please, just a yes or no. I think that's what I understand. We are to pay. Let me go on. The 8.29% increase from 2025 to 2026, that really is a number that is relevant if your market value was unchanged for your property from 2025. So if your market value went up, your percentage increase is going to be up also. So, and what that 8.298% represents is, I believe, a $515,000 increase to the township's revenue from property taxes. This is where I tend to wonder if we could make that a 7% increase or a 6.5% increase. Going back to the average value of a home, which went up 4.37%. So if your home went up 4.37%, you add that on to the 8.29. Okay, my next item is page 26. Just 2 slides ahead, Tom. Yeah, right there. And the point was already made, so I won't elaborate, but discretionary spending of $1.8 million. This seems to me to be a great opportunity to identify cost savings, spending reductions. My next item is on page 27, the next page. Again, it's titled Proposed 2026 Budget, but it's about if we reduce the request for property taxes by $100,000, we save X amount of dollars. And I imagine the slides maybe initially to indicate it's not a lot of savings, but I do want to note to the township that the township needs to recognize that each of us property tax payers, the township is only one of 8 governmental entities that are taxing us. So yes, if we can reduce our taxes here a little bit, that would help. Then we're going to go to Ramsey County, then we need to go to school districts, and that's only a fraction of the 8 that are taxing us. All right, the next item I'll get is 28. I'm going to wrap up here quick, gang. Slide 28. Yes, this one. What isn't shown here on a nice bar chart is the percent increase comparing the township to all the other municipalities. And if you put the percent increase that we are experiencing as property tax payers at 8.29, we are the 5th lowest of all these municipalities. I'm sorry, we are the 7th lowest at 8.29. If we go down to 7%, we are the 5th lowest. If we go to 6%, we're the 4th lowest. So when you think about percent of property tax increase, which is what we have to pay, we are not the lowest of all those township municipalities. And with that said, I'm going to pass.
Thanks, Tim.
Any other questions or comments?
Craig Gray, 2681 South Shore Boulevard. My question comes back to the first question that was asked tonight. And I want to understand when, or is it never, when are the opportunities there and who makes the decision to impact the contracts or other decisions that may not happen every year? And how do we kind of get ahead of this and make an impact at those big junctures? Because those are bigger dollar amounts even than the 1.7 or 1.8.
Tom, you hear that?
Yeah, I did. I guess it really depends on the contract. They all come due at different times, obviously. I know Pat sits on the sheriff's contract group of city administrators that meets with the sheriff's department regularly on their budget, which is part of the county budget, obviously. White Bear Lake for the fire, we're currently negotiating or working towards a new agreement the end of next year, I think.
Tom,
And so it really depends on the contract. But with that, I'll let it go to Pat.
okay, Tom, if I may, just for clarification on that second point with the fire department with White Bear Lake, we're currently in litigation because we felt we were not given any input into an increase in our contract 2 years ago. So we are trying to change that part of it. As Tom mentioned, we do sit at the contract communities table for deputies and sheriff patrol from our CSO, and our increase is directly related to what it is that's proposed to us. Now, I believe we might have started out the negotiating process at 12% this year. We ended up getting it down about 5 or 6 points through excruciating discussions. So, good? Okay. Mike.
Thanks. Mike DeMars, 5474 Peterson Road. Tom, on that same vein, in the proposed budget, I think it's page 23 in our packet, but it says no public safety aid from the state. So that was a $240,000 decrease. Is that, I'm just curious why that happened, and then does that sort of play into what we've been talking about?
I can answer that one. So 2 years ago, the legislature had a surplus and felt like sharing that or almost $500,000 with us for that year. Tom and I, because we were going to be anticipating an increase in our fire coverage, split that in half over 2 years to absorb some of that impact. So we split it in half to over those 2 years. We don't have it now, unfortunately. So good. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Oh, let me get somebody who hasn't gone yet.
Corey Huberty, 5464 Bald Eagle Boulevard East. I have a question on the safety. So the police is a 7% increase this year, and it's one of the biggest items. Have we looked at looking at like White Bear or Washington County for that service? Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
We did look at White Bear a number of years ago. They would have been more cost effective or more costly and less service because they would have had to hire additional sheriff or police officers to cover us. Again, Pat sits on the sheriff's group. I'll let him kind of maybe respond to that one too.
So I don't know if that was clear enough, but yes, we have taken that into consideration. So. Anybody else? Right there, Mike.
Yeah, Mike Sackey again here, Tom. I was just looking at the last 5 years on a couple of the charts that you have here on our packet. It's pages 34 and 35, the median value home changes comparing to the property taxes on the residential property chart. If I look back from the year 2021 to 2025, I see a approximate median home value increase of 33%. If I look at the increase in property taxes from that same period, that's about a little over 58%. So I'm just concerned that the property tax percentage are going up much more rapidly than the median home value changes and increases. So I just maybe want your take on that.
Yeah, really the only big change in our property tax levy has come in I guess I'll say two areas. Again, we've kind of beaten the public safety area to death here, but the township did undertake a 10-year road improvement plan 7 or 8 years ago. From that plan, we went from having no debt levy to now where we have to have a $670,000 debt levy. We've issued bonds in 2019, 20, and 21. The last few years, we funded the projects internally using up some reserves. But now we're back into the bond market to finance some of the future road improvement projects. So to go from zero for road improvements to 670,000, that's quite a jump. And part of our problem there is we do not receive state aids or MSA money, even though as a town residents, you purchase gas and pay gas tax money. We do not get MSA money to repair our roads. So it falls mainly on our residents for coming up with those funds. We've been fortunate where we've been able to use reserves. We then also assess affected property owners for it, but there's always going to be a property tax levy component to it unless we can start getting some other aids from some other sources. And then, like I say, the other big area where we've had the budget increase is obviously public safety, which is based on our contracts. White Bear Lake was having some big increases for a while to because some capital improvements that equipment and so forth that they were doing, and then switching from a almost completely volunteer on-call department to now having full-time firefighters to respond to calls because they're having troubles getting especially daytime firefighters. All those have increased our public safety costs considerably over that time. The market values on the homes, that's all driven by the county assessor. He comes up with those values. As I say, you should get notice of your change in value each spring. There's an appeal process for those. The township gets very little say into that. And then depending on what other values do and stuff, if commercial values tend to go down 1 year because of high vacancies or what have you, it shifts some of the burden of the taxes onto the residential more and so forth. So some of the market value increases, are kind of out of our hands, but according to, again, the law and the way I understand it, the market values that the county assessor puts onto your home should be reflective of what you could sell your home for. That's, like I say, there is a process when those notices go out in the spring, which you can appeal it. The assessor would then come out and take a look at your home and so forth and could reevaluate the value on it. But that's kind of that process.
Cheryl Smith, 5713 Jenny Lane. I'm going to follow up on a comment that you made, Tom, on that we as a township aren't receiving certain funds from the state. And I'm just wondering when the last time the township did an analysis on a township government versus if we were a city, if there would be any tax savings on that, what the ramifications would be, so we could get some of those state funds.
Hey, Tom, why don't do one of the supervisors want to speak to that? I know it was before my time that we had talked about or bandied about possibly becoming a council format. Okay.
Ed Prudon, I sit on the town board. We've gone through a number of attempted annexations where they think the city could take over some more of the township. The problem is right now, and I think our attorney will speak to this, we are fully developed, which means we have full services to all our residents. And all our residents get sewer, water, police, so there's no advantage or there's no capability of them annexing property from us. Now, part of that problem too is though, because we're a township, we're excluded from the formula that gets us money, MSA money. We have neighbors right next to us that get over $2 million a year. Or I'm sorry, LGA. But either way, they get funding that we do not get. Now, we've been working with our reps to try to help them lobby for us. we'd like to have the township called, reclassified as a, what's the term? Urban township. If that's the case, then we may be able to apply for some of these funds, and that would help, obviously, our budget. But for now, we're in the same boat. We did get a one-time fee of $7 million, which the board has diligently spread out, hopefully over 20 years, that we can use on our road improvements. By using the interest and some of the principal, that's also helping bring down our budgets. But again, we get no other sources. So what you folks decide to do tonight is vote on what we've got. And I tell you what, we're pretty fiscally responsible, I believe. We look at this budget for the whole year. I don't see any places where we can just say, take some money out. If we do that, you're going to cut services. And the folks in this room are going to depict what happens to the whole township by how you vote tonight. If you vote to reduce the budget, we're going to have to take matters into our own hands because the board's going to decide where we're going to cut. And usually it's amenities. We don't have a lot of them. So I would just like to reemphasize how you vote tonight affects everybody in the township, not just the folks in the room.
Well, just to follow up on that, I wasn't thinking that I wanted to join White Bear Lake at all, but I'm just wondering, couldn't we then become a city of our own, White Bear Township or White Bearette or something, so it wouldn't be annexed? I don't want to be annexed by anyone.
Again, I think if our attorney can explain to this, because we are 5 independent entities, we cannot form a city because we don't have continuous boundaries.
Really?
Based on the present statutory definition of city. If there's a change in the statutory definition, it's possible. Right now, no, we can't.
Jake must be talking.
I knew there was an answer for that.
Okay, any other questions?
Nathan Durkis, 5289 Pleasant Court West. So you mentioned the reduction in services. Can you talk a little bit more about what kind of reduction in services have been discussed specifically? Okay. So something, but not sure what. Okay.
Yeah, if we were to, like I said, if you know, we're kind of stuck with a small staff. So, I mean, anytime you reduce the staff, you're going to reduce some type of service, whether it's streets get plowed later than what they do now, grass gets mowed later or gets longer, those sort of things. Parks, like I say, the replacement of some of the playground equipment, the general maintenance of it, that's all gonna have to be looked at. Those are really the only, Township Day and movies in the park, you could not hold those. But again, those are things that are well attended and provide a service, but those would be the areas that would have to be looked at.
Mr. Ruzek has some comments. Tom, hold on.
Hi.
Okay.
Another thing to answer your question. I'm Steve Ruzek. I'm also on the board. One of the areas, we have movies in the park. We have our township days. And depending where you are in the township, they like them. Other people might say it's a waste of money. But those are the discretionary items that we have to look hard at. And he mentioned plowing. Do we cut out all overtime? Those are all things that you have to take into account. So those, to answer your question, what kind of things could be cut? Anything that is not in that gotta have category, gotta pay for. We just have to look hard at it.
I'm Beth Artner. I'm also a town board supervisor. And it seems like everybody here is pretty ticked off. I know I don't like the increases in my property taxes. What can we do? I mean, you know, we've ragged on the board, and I know because I've sat there and looked at the budget, and there's not a lot. But you know, who else do we? You know, who can we write letters to? Who can we beat on? Because they seem to need it.
Good comment.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. Tim David, I just want to address the idea of where could we cut. There is $1.779 million, what is deemed to be discretionary spending. And the idea that township days and movies in the park might be a candidate, that's really a red herring. Sorry, but that $1.8 million, township day and movies in the park are $49,000. That's a red herring. That is immaterial. When in fact, things like contractual services for 2026 is up 9%, $100,000. We are paying $49,000 for tree trimmers coming to clear cut wooded areas like Four Seasons Park. I think we spend almost $100,000 just on tree cutting in wooded areas. So there are significant amounts of opportunity to make cuts. Again, we're not talking about bare bones by any means, but if we reduce from 8.29% to a 7%, all we're asking, that's only an $80,000 cut. If we ask for 6%, which helps every taxpayer in the township, that's $140,000 additional savings that we need from the township. Remember, there's $1.8 million of discretionary. We currently are mowing 25 parks, and we've got a great park system. I'm on the park board. I love the park system. But we've identified that there are parks that are 10 acres plus, and we are mowing every 10 acre of that park. We maybe only need to mow 5 acres. So there are things that we can do to just reduce our cost a bit. At 7%, we're only asking for an $80,000 reduction.
Just a comment from the moderator here. We've identified a lot of issues here, but at some point, it's up to you all in the attending here to make a recommendation in the form of a motion. If there's some specific solution that you see or remedy that you see, the motion ought to come from the floor and vote on it. That would go to the town board to review and accept or reject. Otherwise, the other option right now on the floor today is to go ahead and make a motion on accepting the budget as proposed.
Keep in mind, though, that all you do under the statute is to vote on the overall levy. The actual allocation of funds is up to, under the statute, up to the town board. So you really don't have the.
Well, the next step,
Hold on.
Bob would.
Tom, be quiet.
Hold on.
Wait a second, buddy. So it's up to the town board to allocate the money you decide to levy, not the citizens. And I'm not saying you can't advise, but understand your vote has no legal weight to it at all.
Chad, just to rephrase what I stumbled through before, what would come from the floor here would be just a reduction in the total budget, not a reduction item by item amendments.
Exactly. It's the total levy, which is the budget.
Okay, and then it's up to the town board to receive that, and then decide the specific areas of reductions or changes. Okay. Did I confuse that enough for you? Or?
Well, I think you're exactly
Okay.
right.
But if I may,
Only if you promise not to confuse us anymore.
well, it probably will. The residents need to approve a property tax levy for 2026. That is what they would reduce by whatever amount they want. And then they would have to recommend a budget that would support that property tax levy.
Got it.
Kiz Taylor, 5211 West Bald Eagle Boulevard. So can that number be put in as a percentage, kind of as Tim David suggested? We don't have to like give an actual number, but it can be as suggested as a percentage.
No,
Chad?
it's the actual levy. So you'd have to, if you want to lower the levy, you'd have to determine an actual number.
Okay. I've got a couple other questions too. I just wanted to ask Chad a little bit about, could you elaborate on the state equity laws as far as like increases and step increases? I know that those are for contract employees, but people that are non-contract, what does that mean? There's state equity laws that they have to match because as pay, yeah, it's not.
Right now, there's one contract, one union, which is the Public Works. Everyone else is non-contract, or non-union. But under state statute, this statute's been around, I think, for 35, 40 years. It goes back a ways. That whatever the union contract calls for, the statute requires that be taken into account to determine the pay of non-contract employees.
But not a match. It's more of taken into account.
I really can't give you the exact mechanics, but it's supposed to be taken into account.
Can you explain pay equity a little bit further or clearer?
Me?
Yeah, you, Tom. No, the other Tom.
Okay, well, I'm
I'm
sorry,
just
I
kidding.
couldn't hear you.
Just kidding. Yeah, so go ahead. It's pay
yeah,
equity.
It basically, yeah, pay equity basically groups different jobs and assigns points to them based on responsibility levels and different things. And it basically says if you have, for instance, a public works maintenance person working and making, let's just say, $80,000 a year, and then you have a receptionist or a permit tech person whose job responsibilities are very similar to that public works maintenance person, they also need to be paid similar wages or in that same pay grid system. So with that, you have different jobs that, you know, you may say, okay, this position seems like it's being overpaid or underpaid or what have you, but it all matches up. And when it was originally created, the reason it was created was you had positions such as public works maintenance positions that were, you know, 90% male positions. And then you had secretarial positions, which were 90% women, and they weren't being paid the same, if you will, or paid equitably to the state. And so they passed these laws, and everybody had to fill out various job duties and responsibilities and so forth. And the state came up with a system that rated them all so that they could all be put into this grid. And we have to, as a government agency, I think it's every 3 years, we have to file reports with the state. In fact, ours is due at the end of January of next year. We have to supply the state with all of our positions, the number of males in the positions, number of females in the position, and what everybody is earning, and they determine if or not we're meeting their pay equity law standards. And if we don't, we can get fined. If they, luckily, so far, the years that I at least filled out the report, we've met their criteria. And so that's basically the guts of the program.
Okay, so Tom, just an addition. I mentioned to Tim's question, we contract with a payroll company, MRA, that sets those standards for us that we stay within pay equity laws. So, did you have another question?
So there wasn't really much said about the equipment or depreciation estimates. I'm sure that's part of the budget too, and how that can be adjusted or accounted for, or maybe reductions made in that.
Hey, Tom, can I answer that one real quick?
You sure could.
Okay. So our past supervisor, Scott McCune, after several years of us doing just that, Kiz, is reducing the depreciation to, what were we down to, 60% annually when we did our budgeting for a few years there, Tom? Scott required.
I think when you started, we were down around 60%.
Okay. And so Scott, over 2 years, asked the board that we fund that at 100% annually in our budget.
One other hypothetical question. It just seems as though that there's a lot of emphasis put on the market value of homes, but if it tanks again in 2008, like it did, then what do we do?
That's a good question, Tom.
Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't generate as much taxes. It depends on if it's just the residential market that tanks. Back when it went down in 08, commercial values for a while still held their end, so they were still increasing a little bit. Unfortunately, the township doesn't have a whole lot of apartments, but apartment values have been skyrocketing. Back then they did, and currently they've been going up. Not so much for 2026, but previously they were going up. But you're right. If all values go down, the total tax capacity of the township would go down. If we kept our levy just the same to keep providing the exact same services we have now, that tax rate would go up. So even though your value went down, you would end up paying more or similar taxes because the rate is higher. So instead of being 27%, your tax rate would, let's just say, jump to 30%. That's if we kept the levy and your values went down. So it's all part of the formula, and without getting too complicated and getting into what we'd have to cut or so forth. And, that would be all part of the process, explaining to the board, this is where our values are at. This is the effect it's going to have on the residents. What do we cut, or do we keep the same things, or what do we do?
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else?
All right, any other comments? Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is to approve the property tax levy for 2026 in the amount of $6,727,813. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve that tax levy.
I'd like to make a motion to.
Well, I think she called it first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I make that motion to approve that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Now it's open for discussion.
If not, I guess we do have a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Clerk.
I would propose to amend that motion to instead propose a 7% increase in the budget, which would result in a tax levy of $6,647,187.
So I second. Okay. So Mr. Attorney, we're doing an amendment inside of an initial motion that was seconded. Now we get another second on that amendment.
That's the motion to discuss the amendment.
Okay. So let's discuss.
Okay. So repeat the numbers for me again. You're talking about reducing the levy to,
The proposal would be, I don't have a mic, but
okay.
a 7% increase instead of 8.3. And the tax levy would be $6,647,187.
okay. So that's the amendment. So that's up for, and it's been seconded, so it's up for discussion. Go ahead.
Just from big picture, in proposing the 7% increase, pointing out that the township's taxes have increased 58% over the last 5 years. That greatly exceeds, I imagine, the incomes of the residents who live here. Second, that proposed township budget of 8.3% is it's more than twice the current rate of inflation. And just to say that I think all of the residents here support all of the staff. We think they do great work. Keep going. But we are not proposing to reduce the operating budget. We are just proposing to reduce the increase. It's still increasing by 7%. And again, that's probably more than most people that live in this township will receive an income. We want this township to be affordable for everyone that lives here.
Mike DeMars, 5474 Peterson. I think it's a good idea. I like what you had to say, but the other side of that is we still have an operating budget of close to 6.9. So if we reduce the property tax levy, then we would have to increase the debt levy. Am I tracking that right?
No, if you reduce the property tax levy, you would have to reduce the budget, the operating budget.
Yeah, thank you.
Kevin?
Kevin Halbach, 2654 Suzanne. The number you came up with, the 7%, was approximately $100,000 difference. 80,000. Roughly 100,000. I remember the chart where it had per $100,000 savings. That one chart and broke down what that would do. So 80 is approaching that. That number made sense to me in the 100,000, the 80,000, because looking at that chart, you can interpolate very easily where the particular savings would be. So I can look at my house and see how much it's saved. My question becomes, and tonight's the night to answer that, is saving that 80,000, that 100,000 approximate, worth the savings that I see on the right for my home? To me, it does not.
Any other questions or comments?
So Chad, what's the procedure here? We've got a amendment inside of initial motion.
We vote on the amendment.
Vote on the amendment.
Okay.
All right,
Vote on the amendment.
Okay, then I'll call the question. Those in favor of accepting the amendment to reduce the tax levy by $100,000,
Approximately 80.
approximately $80,000. Those in favor, please say aye.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, I better do that. Those in favor, please raise your hand.
15 in favor.
8. Try that again. I come up. Raise your hand if you're in favor of the amendment. 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13.
Yep.
I got 13 this time.
So we're voting on the amendment.
Raise your hands real high.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
On the amendment, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were doing a second vote.
No, we're sorry.
You voted 3 times on the amendment. No, we're trying to count the votes.
Trying to count them appropriately, yeah.
Same thing's hard to do.
1, 2.
Do it right, do it accurately.
We can put it in a piece of paper.
Or we could actually, what we want to do is to actually divide the room. Well, that's actually the method.
What you got?
17.
That's what I got.
Those opposed to the amendment.
Hands up.
Hands up.
Amendment has it.
11.
Yep.
The amendment passes.
17 to 11 I had, Bob. How about
Yes, 17 to 11. So the amendment passes. So now the property tax levy would be, what would the property tax levy be? I heard two numbers.
$6,647,187.
$6,647,187. I had that once a time. Okay, so now the motion is to approve a tax levy as amended to $6,647,187. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. And the ayes have it, so the motion passes
Okay,
for that amended tax levy.
process would be between now and the Township Board's meeting on December 15th. Staff will meet, come with recommendations to the board, and board will accept or decline those, correct, Chad?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Okay.
And then the next item on the agenda is to approve the general fund budget. And that's been proposed at $6,958,773.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
This can be changed as well.
Yes, it can be. Yep.
Okay. I do want to ask it. Tom, I was just asking for a point of clarification that this value can also be proposed to be changed. So, and they're telling me yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So what would that number be?
Well, right now, there's no motion before the,
Okay.
point of clarification. Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay. So we're looking for a motion to approve the general fund budget proposed at $6,958,773. Is there a motion to that effect?
Wait.
Staff has to tell us how much it has to be reduced.
Hold on. Tom, how would you like
We
that?
don't have,
Go ahead.
we've got to reduce the general fund by that same amount that we just reduced the tax levy.
So we don't really.
We don't have the funds to pay for it.
So that's the $80,000.
Yep.
Yes? No?
No, that's right.
Okay, so that would change the general fund budget, $6,878,773.
Yep.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so then we're looking for,
Stop. Are you gonna make a motion? Yes. Good, okay.
I make a motion to reduce the general fund budget by an amount of $80,626, which would equal $6,878,147.
147, all right. The motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? If not, I'll call the question to looking for approval of the general fund budget at $6,878,000. What'd you say, 147? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? That motion passes.
Sorry, Bob, didn't mean to surprise you with having to do math.
I probably would have broken my calculator. All right, the next item on the agenda is to schedule the date for next year's meeting and the location. And that time and location would be 7 o'clock, December 7, 2026, and the location would be Heritage Hall. Is there a motion to that effect? Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye. Okay.
It's not. So what I would suggest, if everybody's uncomfortable with the parking situation here, is Otter Lake Elementary. We've had our annual meetings there before, so. Okay, can we propose that as a change, Chad?
Yeah, there's a motion to amend, yes.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second?
I just had a question.
Well, is there a second to that?
Do we get a second? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, how much is it gonna cost to use the elementary school?
It won't.
$80,000.
No. Love to see it tonight, Ralph. Thanks.
Don't make me go back there.
That will be, and this is all fine. It is subject to getting permission.
So the motion's,
The motion should be, if I may, there should be an alternative motion, which is in the event Otter Lake School is not available, hold it here, because it has to be held in a public building. Within the township.
yeah, okay. The motion that's been, the motion is to hold it at Otter Lake School.
I understand, I'm just suggesting.
Yeah,
that,
that's a good
there is
suggestion.
motion to amend that motion to create an alternative, that being, in the event the school is not available, it will be held here. So moved.
Too late.
All right, that's also, so we have a motion and an amendment. So the amendment requires a vote. Those in favor of this location is the alternative location, right?
Yes, but that hasn't been seconded.
Yeah, we had a second.
Yes.
Yeah. So those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sort of backwards, but that's, now that we look for a motion for Monday, December 7, 2026, 7 o'clock at Otter Lake School. Is there a motion?
That was, if I may, I think this is the confusion. I think the actual motion for the citizens is to hold the meeting Monday, December 7th, 2026, at 7 p.m. at Otter Lake School. And if the Otter Lake School is not available, then to hold it here instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I got a motion over on the corner there.
Well, that was a motion to amend to amend. Yeah. There was a motion to amend an amendment. So the actual motion, after all, when the dust is settled, The actual motion is, as I see it, and if you can correct me, because I'm just the attorney here, okay? That to hold the annual budget meeting Monday, December 7th, 2026,
Otter Lake
7 p.m.
School.
at Otter Lake School, and in the event the school is not available, to hold it here.
Yeah, it's here.
That's the motion. That's the motion.
Clear as mud.
Okay. If there's no disagreement on that language, we'll use that as the motion then. All right. Now, I guess to be official, it has to come from the floor. Is there someone from the floor to make that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Whew. Okay, now we have a motion. It's been seconded. December 7th, Monday, 26 at Otter Lake School. And Heritage Hall would be the backup in the event that Otter Lake School is not available. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We need an alternative date. So let's just use the same language, just change the date. So it would be, we should vote on an alternate date of Wednesday, December 9th, 2029 at Otter Lake School at 7 o'clock at Otter Lake School with Heritage Hall as the backup. Any discussion? Please, no. Okay, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Whew. I think we made it through that. That motion passes. Is there any other business?
Yep. Mr. MC, if I may, just a reminder to everybody, when we adjourn from this meeting, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. We're going to switch around here a little bit. We're just going to hold a quick, normal or regular township board. If you want to stay and make comments, we've got an open mic at that. Otherwise,
Okay. Any other business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? We are adjourned.
Thanks, folks.